evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
89.3 Mahoning Drive-In Radio, your old friend Virgil back once again for another exciting episode of the podcast. As you know, the only podcast dedicated to the love and revival of our beloved drive-in culture. Joined as always by my co-host and general manager extraordinaire, Mark. Say hello, my friend.
Hello.
Joined as well with owner projectionist King Jeff in the house. Say hello, my friend.
Hi, everybody.
And as we continue our owners series here on the podcast, which has been such a blessing, being able to contact, chat, and become friendly with owners across the country and beyond, we really have been getting a taste for all different types of setups. We're talking not just single and two screens. We're talking unique setups in tourist towns, tourist areas, means to bring the love of the drive-in back. But today, we have certainly some connection in the Tiffin Drive-In out of Ohio. Opened in 1949, same as the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, was a single screen until recently when the new owner-operator came in, who we are blessed to have with us, Mike Cole. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you for having me. This is a thrill to get to do the podcast with you guys, all three of you.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet of you. You know, and we reach out to a lot of theaters for this, but Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. Mike reached out to us.
Yes, it was no effort on our part to get Mike as a guest.
That is great. Well, it's a mutual love. I always refer to the Tiffin as the legendary Tiffin whenever people ask me about it. And we've actually crossed paths before. Mike has been out to the theater in 2020, and we actually got to chat a bit.
Yeah, I came out there in the summer of 2020 when I was in the process of kind of negotiating the purchase for the Tiffin Drive-In Theater, and I came the weekend of Zombie Fest. And I remember I even made a little pilgrimage on the way out to, since I was going to Zombie Fest, I went to the Night of the Living Dead cemetery on the way out there. The
Went
Evans
in the
City
area.
Cemetery.
That's incredible.
So I nerded out a little bit on the way to the Mahoning, which is what everybody should do.
And that's why we could tell right away, like, this puppy is in great hands, knowing that, you know, you were kind of working your way into that situation. I guess that's a good place to launch off. How did you come into the Tiffin before we get into the deep history of it?
Oh, that's quite a story. It really kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming. It begins with the fact we have to go back a few years. And I need to tell you that my wife and I live in Findlay, Ohio. And then we have a vacation home up by the lake in Marblehead, Ohio.
Yes.
And the Tiffin Drive-In Theater happens to sit right at the midpoint of that drive, back and forth there. So we see it all the time, and we've been there. And about 7 years ago, I think, they had the first live streamed concert at a drive-in, and it was a Jimmy Buffett concert, if you guys can remember that.
Oh yeah, that was all the rage
streamed.
during the pandemic.
Yeah, and it was just to the Eastern time zone because it was live, and you got to time it with dusk and so forth. So we went to that. We had a great time. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed being outside at the drive-in, and it really felt like a live concert. So then fast forward to 2020 and the pandemic and the lockdown, and the first thing that opens is the drive-ins, and we start hearing that they're going to do another one of these concerts there with Garth Brooks. It wasn't going to be live streamed. It didn't have a live audience, but it was going to be a specially recorded concert that was exclusive to drive-ins. You had to go to the drive-in to see it. So I get on the website there to get the tickets, and then I start to linger, guys. I start to linger on the website, studying the website and trying to get a snapshot of what's going on at the Tiffin Drive-In Theater. And then I start Googling and looking at other drive-in websites and just getting interested in the whole drive-in thing in general. And I start to have this thought take shape in my mind that am I at a point in my life that I might be able to actually start a drive-in somewhere. And so my first thought was maybe I could build a new drive-in up by the lake, since that's where we spend a lot of the pleasant weather part of the year. So I was actually really getting into it. I was talking to a realtor about a piece of real estate. I was calling the Department of Transportation about ingress egress issues, because this property was near a state route exit ramp. I was doing the due diligence, the legwork, and I got to the point where I knew that I have to talk to the owners of the Tiffin Drive-In Theater, not because of anything about Tiffin, but because the owners of the Tiffin Drive-In Theater started in the drive-in business by building their own drive-in in their backyard. They started the Field of Dreams Drive-In over in Liberty Center, and they literally carved it out of a cornfield and had a drive-in in their backyard called the Field of Dreams Drive-In. And the lady's name is Donna Saunders, Rod and Donna Saunders. So I knew this is the next step. This is what I have to do. I have to go talk to her about what does it take.
They did it at a certain point.
They had done it, and I needed to know their story. What do you go through to start a drive-in? So I make the drive out to Liberty Center, and it's just a great scene, guys. I drive up this country house, the drive-in's all laid out, and there's Donna on the porch in a rocking chair, and she's folding the towels for cleanup for that night's show. And I walk up and I sit down in the rocking chair, tell her who I am and everything. And so she starts telling me the story of how they started their drive-in, and the challenges they were up against, and some of the community resistance, and just everything that they went through to get it started.
Yeah.
And then I told her what I wanted to do. And we were getting into that somewhat, and her husband comes up, and they were needing to leave to go to a closing. Actually, that day they were going to close on another theater and drive-in in the area, as they were building their kind of little mini movie empire there.
That's right.
And at some point, her husband Rod says, "Yeah, we've just really got a lot going on, and just if we could only find a buyer for Tiffin." And
just let it slip in there casually, right?
Yeah. And so my jaw kind of hit the floor and said that I drive by that every time we go to the lake. It's right in our orbit. And I told him, I think I might be seriously interested in being your buyer. And so everything just shifted at that point. And we spent the rest of the summer negotiating the purchase of it, because I had a lot of, questions and concerns about the building and the screen, because I thought the screens needed replaced. And so it took most of the summer, and I took it over in August of 2020. And then
talk about a crazy time to come in.
Yes, it was a crazy time to come in. And then we've spent since August of 2020 up until April of last year doing a complete redesign, rebuild, reimagining of the theater. I feel like I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum from what you guys do, where everything is about retro and preservation. You've got a tremendous old screen there. You've got a building that you can use. My screen wasn't going to last. If I didn't knock it down, it was going to fall down. The building just wasn't something that I could repurpose. We needed to start over, and so that's what we did. So we've essentially transplanted a new drive-in onto the location of the old Tiffin Drive-In Theater.
I think that's terrific. I hit that one right on the head. That's what I thought when I looked at the pictures, at the photos from because I study that stuff. And I'm saying this either is a new drive-in or it's been totally redone. And I'm congratulating you. I think it's great. For your purposes, it sounds perfect.
I mean, it is what you can do, like our whole thing is like, we are an example of what you can do in the new age of the drive-in. But in reality, you're taking it to the true next step to say, I'm going to make this as inviting, as up to date, as modern as possible, to the point where some of your business model, it blows our mind how you're able to, bring it up to date. Or really what we found is sometimes there's a hurdle of getting indoor people into the drive-in experience. Yep. You have a great way of kind of catering to the the indoor mentality while being outside, which is great.
Yeah, I like to call our theater a place it's a blast from the past with a state-of-the-art spin,
Yes.
because we knew that we had a big build-out project from the very beginning, even before before the ink was dry on the purchase agreement to buy the theater. I was already pretty deep in talks with Jerry Selby
Ooh, our buddy
to rebuild the
Jerry.
screen. Yeah, terrific
Oh, we
guy.
love that.
That's a whole nother story in itself.
Oh yeah, well, you know what? We were gonna bring it up, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have you back on when we have Jerry on.
Okay. He's
Which
a
we're
great
trying
guy.
to do. Oh, great guy, absolutely. So, what was that process as far as getting that second screen put in, getting the first one repaired?
Well, there was already a second screen there, just like a phone pole and metal sheet screen that was there. So we ended up replacing both of the screens,
Nice.
and that was an adventure in itself, because it was I took it over in August of 2020, and we wanted to build the screen in September. Because you remember in 2020 there were some musical acts that were touring around to drive-ins at that time.
Oh
Some
yeah.
fairly big names, like we had two Christian concerts coming up. One of them was with Michael W. Smith,
Mm-hmm.
and the first one was going to be on September 30th, and then the other one 2 weeks later. So our plan was to knock the old screen down and get the new one up before either one of those
In a hurry.
concerts was ready. Yeah, and they would be, one of the first events on the new screen. Well, the inspection office threw us a big curveball, like at the last minute, and said, "You know what? You've got 30 more days of time to get all of your paperwork through the red tape here." So
Oh.
this was going to push our screen project into October, and what ended up happening, this was really pretty closely run. We had the first concert on the night of September 30th, the Michael W. Smith concert, on the old screen. We kept it up with the idea that we're going to knock the screen down and build the new one in time for the next concert 2 weeks later.
Genius.
So we didn't have any room for error. So we did the concert on the old screen. It was the last event that was on it. And then for Old Lang Syne, after the concert was over, the first movie that was ever shown at the Tiffin Drive-In Theater was a Abbott and Costello movie called Buck Privates.
Yes.
So we just screened it up on the screen.
Oh,
I saw when
that's
you guys
so
did that. I was
beautiful.
so impressed when I saw the post for that.
So the first movie that was ever on the screen was also the last movie ever on the screen.
So classic.
And it was up on the screen while the concert people were tearing down, and so they had something to watch, and it was cool to have it up there. And so the very next morning, we knocked the screen down with the equipment and spent a few days getting that cleaned up. And we really were lucky with the weather that came in that first week of October, and to get the screen up. And Jerry and his crew came in there and had it up in about 5 days.
Unreal. He's a
Yeah.
master. He's a master.
He is.
Unbelievable. Well, the normally I ask people like, what's the layout? Since I'm familiar with the Tiffin, I know it is quite literally in the middle of nowhere, which works really well for a drive-in.
Oh yeah. Well, that's part of the reason it's still there.
That's what
You
we
know.
always say. We're lucky to be
Yeah.
where we are.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny thing about the drive-ins in this area. There are 4 drive-ins in our area of Ohio. And the Tiffin Drive-In Theater in Tiffin, the Starview Drive-In in Norwalk, Ohio, what was originally the Parkside Drive-In up in Oregon, Ohio, near Toledo.
Right.
And it was now called the Sundance, but it used to be called the Parkside. And then the High Road Drive-In on Route 68 north of Kenton. All 4 of those theaters opened within about 10 days of each other in 1949.
That was the boom, you know?
In the last week of May and the beginning of June of 1949. And all kinds of, drive-ins have come and gone since then. But those are the 4 that are left today.
That is incredible. We
It's
love
sick.
when there's a rich culture, within the state. And we're blessed in PA. Ohio's the same situation where there's a built-in love still for it. It's not something everybody completely forgot about, to the point where, many of those drive-ins were able to hang on. That's incredible that you guys are all that close. And we were what? End of April, 49, Jeff?
No, yeah, about April 22nd, I think, 49
all
is when
opened
we
up
opened.
within like
Okay.
a month of each other. That's
Yep.
great.
Yeah, and we have the same kind of situation going today. There's 4 drive-ins right in our area. It's us, Shankweiler's, Becky's, and the Laurel Drive-In. Now, the Laurel Drive-In's been closed for about 10 years, but it's still there. So we've
Yeah.
got 4 right in our area too.
Yeah, it's wild to
great.
think about, the years of what they had to go through, and the fact that they're still open. I mean, that's what this podcast is all about, is shining a light on those owners, those families, or like us, those people that came in and was able to give it a revival. Now, for you, you gave it the hottest revival I've seen on the web. That's why I'm such a fan of the Tiffin. I gotta say, I follow you guys on the socials. You do a really great job of sharing all the projects that you guys have been doing, and it's so easy to love. I mean, it has such an inviting atmosphere about it, even from afar, that it's like, these guys know what they're doing. So, were there certain things when you came in that you were like, I need to have this? My dream is to have this.
Well, a part of the reason that it does have that reputation, and that you guys know about it, and so forth, is that I have a secret weapon.
Oh, okay.
I was blessed, first of all, with inheriting 2 managers from the previous owners that have stayed with
Yes.
me through the transition.
Right.
And that has been just, I cannot tell you how important that's been to me, and especially that they hung on with me, because we were closed for the entire season of 2021 when we did the build out, and they stayed with me through that and helped me through that. And the food operation was a big growth thing, and my manager Tommy Hoover has just been huge in upgrading all of that and really upping his game. But I think the presence that we have on the web and social media and our videos and things, because we chronicled the build out too with video, is that my other manager, his name is Alex Depker, and he and his brother Brady own their own video production company.
Oh, come on.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
right.
always is so presented beautifully. That makes total sense.
Yeah, he is just a dyed-in-the-wool drive-in guy. I think he has been at the Tiffin Drive-In Theater for 10 years now. And
Yeah.
he and his brother are super talented. They have a company called Dead Shark Productions, and that's their day job. That's their big boy job.
Yeah.
And they do all this drive-in stuff on the side, and they just do tremendous video for us. It looks so slick and professional, and they know how to tell a story too.
Oh, yeah.
With the video, and we're very proud of the little mini documentary that they put together for us about the building of the screen.
Yep.
Which, for anybody out there, if you're interested in anything about drive-ins and drive-in theaters and screens, it's just a great video. It was really, really well done.
Yeah.
And-
Did Jerry do your second screen too?
Yes, he did. And he actually, this is kind of embarrassing to say, but we changed the way that we were going to configure the lot and the way that we were going to point the projectors in the new building. We have our number 1 screen, which is on the west side of the property, and it faces east, so you have the sun setting over it. But the second screen was in the northeast corner of the theater. And we built it over there. And then midway through the project, we decided we're going to be better off to have the other projector pointing straight to the east. And so we actually moved the new screen that he built to the north.
Wow.
And I remember the day that I went to Jerry to ask him about this, because I knew that he had moved screens before, but I wanted to, ask him about it. So I drove out to his place and said, Jerry, I think I want to move the screen. And he looked at it, and in pretty short order, he said, yeah, we can do it. And I said, so, Jerry, I know you've moved screens before. He said, yeah. I said, but have you ever moved a screen that's never had a movie on it before? He said, no. No. So he came back midway through our build out and moved that screen from the northeast corner straight to the east, right behind the building.
So beautiful.
Wow. Wow.
He'll aim to please. Doesn't matter.
He
Oh, you
does
want me
the
to move
job.
it again? I'll move for it. That's awesome. Well, we've been so in love with your presentation online and looking at your concession stand. It's hard not to be jealous. Why don't you give people a little bit of a visual? And you guys now call it the Moonlight Diner, your stand, right?
Yes, the Moonlight Diner. And we actually had that open during the day.
Oh my God, so genius. Yeah.
Yeah,
People can roll in off the highway. Yeah.
During part of the season last year. And we designed the concession part of the diner to look like a retro 50s diner with the tiles and the checkerboard floor. Yeah, so it definitely has a retro feel to it, and the building itself has sort of a nouveau retro look to it. It has the slanted roof and the metallic trim around the outside. And then, because we were able to just start from scratch and do the building and the concession operation the way we wanted, we were just able to get all of the equipment to do all of the food that we wanted. So we've got fountain drinks and bottled drinks. We've got coffee. We've got hamburgers, cheeseburgers, hot dogs, mini corn dogs, chicken tenders, fresh cut seasoned fries, pizzas. We've got ribbon fries, nachos with cheese, fried pretzels, mozzarella sticks, candy, milkshakes.
Just anything the heart desires. It is. It's so stunning and impressive.
And this is where I break in and I say, at this point in the podcast, when we record these, I've never eaten dinner because we do these at around dinner time. And when we get to the point where we're talking to fellow owners about their snack bar, it's just killing me.
Corn dog nuggets. Come on, baby.
One thing I wanted to ask is I saw you guys posted about picking up the pizza oven that's like a super cooker, and I'm fascinated by that.
I'm so jealous.
Yes. That's I might call that another secret weapon. It's actually the third pizza oven that we've had since we opened. We started out with a conveyor pizza oven, and it was fine, but it was just too slow. We just couldn't keep up. The bake time was too slow. We bought these other ovens that it just didn't have the speed that we needed. So we invested in this Turbo Chef pizza oven. And by the way, I love that name.
Turbo Chef. That's what we used at the Regal. That's what we used for the specialty item.
So we went to 7-inch pizzas, and it can bake those things in 90 seconds.
Boop. Bang, done. It's
awesome.
Talk about an upgrade. That's the whole thing with us. We're very much working with what we have, only with equipment.
Let me ask Mike a question before he gets too deep into the concession stand. I assume with your vision, then the old building was not savable, that you couldn't keep it.
No, it was not. It was built in 1956. And for that time, I would say it was a pretty nice concession stand. It had the large windows in the front. It was really just like a smaller version of what we have there now. But, the drive-in business had just seen hard times off and on for decades. And there were just so many repairs that never got made.
Yeah.
And if you miss your window of making those repairs, then it's just gone. It's done. And we could have spent, originally we thought maybe we'll spend 4 or 5 years doing an improvement to this or that. But the deeper we got into it, we just realized that we really just have to start over. We'll never be able to do what we really want to do within the confines of this building. And so we took it down and started from the ground up.
Yeah, I understand completely. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
And we are known for our popcorn.
Yeah, what's so
Yes.
special about the
They're
popcorn?
not. It is locally grown.
Ooh,
Local
look at
product.
you.
Comes from
Nice.
a little popcorn family farm, just about 10 miles away from the theater, called Buckeye Family Farm. So we have a farm to table product as our marquee
It's your
popcorn.
signature item.
Yeah,
That is so
yeah,
cool.
we're very proud of that.
You're doing it
Wow.
right, my
That's
friend.
great.
You're doing it right. Well,
That's great.
obviously, coming into things, what was the projection situation like? Were you able to salvage projectors? Did you upgrade there as well?
We had two Christie digital projectors
Yep.
that were at least probably 4 to 6 years old, maybe a little bit older,
Yeah.
not really sure. And those made their way to eBay
Nice.
and
Got a
worth
little money out of them.
a little bit, yeah, and went away on the truck. And then because we were doing everything new building, new equipment, new screens, we decided that we were going to go laser. We're going to go with the state of the art technology. And not only that, we bit the bullet and decided that we were going to get the very best, the very most powerful laser cinema projector available at that time. And at that time, it was called a Barco SP4K50 laser cinema projector.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the
because
time we took delivery on it, it was called a Barco SP4K55 laser cinema projector, because when they tested it and put it through its paces in Belgium, it actually produced more lumens than they theoretically thought that it was possible.
So-
It was a softball because I did know you guys had the lasers, and it's stunning.
It's incredible. And we never get tired of telling people that we have in Tiffin, Ohio, we have the newest, brightest, sharpest, most powerful cinema projector in the world. And we're, as far as we know, we're the only ones who have it.
That is so.
I think that is terrific, because I know in my studies, and I never wanted to go digital at the Mahoning, but I once put it around the size screen we had, and they told me that the size screen we have at the Mahoning, that we would definitely need a Barco if we wanted to do anything.
Oh yeah, yeah, because your screen there is it over 90 feet?
Yeah,
Yes.
110.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, you would need it. You would need it.
Yeah, it's wild. One of the local theaters by us, Becky's, just upgraded this season to lasers, and it's the future. I mean, it just is. For anybody to be able to be in a position to say, I'm never going to have to change a bulb again, that's worth your investment.
Yeah, and it, it looks like your 30-inch screen at home, and it's 84 feet wide. And I remember with the old projectors and the old screen, if there was somebody in the first few rows that turned their headlights on, it would wash out that corner of the screen. Or if the moon was full, the brightness of the moon would wash out the picture. With this,
nothing can compete.
It makes no difference at all. It just wades right through it.
That's
great.
Impressive. Now, again, looking into what you guys do, super unique in how you offer your ticketing. So from the looks of it, you do carload pricing. But Mark, why don't you explain the scenario that you ran into with carload pricing?
So I had, where I used to live in New Hampshire, I had two drive-ins that were about 45 minutes away from me. And one was a per person price and one was a carload price. And it never really bothered me. But the last time I went, one of the two drive-ins, it was like $29 or $30 a carload. And I went by myself, and that was just the price. So if you were a single guy rolling up, you were paying $30 to see those two movies, which in the scheme of things is still cheaper than a lot of indoor theaters. But I was impressed with what you guys do. Is you have the carload pricing, and then there's pricing for two people or pricing for, one lonely soul.
Right. Yeah. $10 for one person, $20 for two, and then $25 for a carload. And in my dream of dreams, everything would just be $25. Just the simplicity of it is so tempting. But we do have people that just come in by themselves, and you don't want to charge them $25.
No.
So you have to have that pricing for people that come in alone, because And oftentimes it seems like those folks that do come by themselves, they are loyal customers.
All of our front rowers rolling in alone. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if that girlfriend is available. They're going to be there.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the loyalty. The other thing that blew my mind, again, I've ran the indoor theaters to kind of get the knowledge off of Jeff's push. It's the fact that you guys can sell tickets and reserve a spot, just like at an indoor where you're picking the seat that is best for you. That is the first time I've seen that at a drive-in.
Yeah, that is something that grew out of the pandemic. The need to know where people were parked and get their food to them. That was something that, and I got to credit my managers to this, because when we were, getting ready to do all the transition, I said, boy, I want to just go back to the simple ticketing. And they said, you know what? There's a lot of merit in us keeping that and having people order their spot and having those posts out there with the numbers and the letters on them, so that we can deliver to them. We can deliver the food to them when we get into rushes. And it just helps us to organize the lot too. So we really like that system of people being able to actually, essentially, like you said, pick their seat at the drive-in online.
Because that's always the thing. We get the lines down the road because people want to come in and get their specific spot. The idea that you can order online a week ahead of time and then be like, I'm going to show up 10 minutes before. I got my front row spot. That's crazy to me. But it's such a cool kind of twist, again, with it's what I would expect for you guys to do. Everything is a bit modernized and a bit thought out like that. It's just so impressive. So going back a bit to your connection with drive-ins and your love of drive-ins, what was that hook for you? I mean, it sounds like you had the connection older in life, but what was that bug?
Well, as a kid, I just loved anything imaginative. Whether it was movies or TV or whatever, I loved anything that was sci-fi or horror or space or just anything like that. But I grew up on a dairy farm in the middle of Northwest Ohio, and back in those days, it was a big deal that we went to town to do anything, or let alone to go to a movie. And usually when we went to a movie, it was a Disney thing. And this was back long ago when it was the downtown theaters that were still open, and we would go see Bed Knobs and Broomsticks or something, at the indoor theater.
Yes, the movie houses.
I think the drive-in, I probably went to the drive-in the entire time that I was growing up, maybe 6 or 7 times. So it wasn't something, I can't sit here and tell you that it was something that was in my blood, that I had to do someday. It wasn't anything like that, but it was always memorable when we went. And the hook, the very first drive-in movie I went to see would have been the summer of 1971. And I would have been 7 years old. So I'm dating myself there. Summer of 71. And my mother took me to the High Road Drive-In in Kenton to see Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Come on. I was trying to put my brain, I'm like, 71. Where's it going?
I thought it would be Vanishing Point myself.
Escape from the Planet of the Apes. I remember that very vividly. I remember everything about it. I remember the ad being in the paper, and the poster I'm talking about, where it looks like the apes are in a family photo.
Oh yeah,
I
love that one.
Cornelius is standing and Zira is sitting, and then the little chimpanzees on her lap, and I just thought, even at 7 years old, I knew this was must see.
Yeah, I gotta see this. What is going on?
So I'm sure I started campaigning to go see that, and then one day my mom says, I'm going to take you to see it, and I'm going to take you to the drive-in. So we went to the High Road Drive-In, just north of Kenton on Route 68, and it was just, magical.
Yep.
It's only magical. And the movie, it's Escape from the Planet of the Apes, but to me, it might as well have been Shakespeare.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just that good.
Movies are just better
And-
in the right setting. It's a
yeah,
fact.
and we got the popcorn and we got the soda. I mean, it was just, just a heavenly thing for a 7-year-old kid to
Yeah.
do. And the other thing I remember about it was I don't know what the second movie was. I have no idea what it was, but my mom, I think she went and got something else to drink or something, and she kind of settled into the car as during the intermission, and she said, "So, you going to watch the other movie?" And I just said, "No, I think I'm ready to go."
I got my fill.
And she gave me this like double take look, like, "What? You got a chance to watch another movie? You don't?" But I was just so satisfied
Yeah.
with the whole experience up to then. I didn't need anything else. I was ready to go. So, and we talk about it all the time. I hear you guys talk about it on the podcast, the other owners, everybody. What everybody remembers is it's just about who you were with.
Yeah.
And when it was, and it was special just because my mother took the time to take me.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember about it. But every time I see that movie, I get the warm and fuzzies.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
Going to the drive-in, yeah. After that, I went a number of other times, and I don't remember all of them. I remember going to the Fostoria Drive-In to see The Land That Time Forgot.
Yes.
Nice.
One of those Doug McClure classics.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that and Godzilla versus Megalon.
Oh, that'll stick with you, baby.
Saw that at the drive-in.
We're playing that this season.
We are, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, what a
So
hoot!
fun. Anytime Big G can hit the big screen, it's a happening.
That's right. Yeah,
Well,
I'm really wanting to do a Godzilla event at
Oh,
the
it's-
Tiffin Drive-In Theater. I really want to do it, and you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to get one of the local Japanese restaurants to make Godzilla rolls for us.
so good.
Perfect.
Which it's shrimp tempura, and it's called a Godzilla roll.
I smell a hit.
Yeah.
The specialty items do incredibly well for us. I was going to ask, being that we were talking about movies, what's the draw at the Tiffin? What do you book to? And you have 2 screens, so I guess you can play a little bit.
We do as much family stuff as we can. As a first-run theater in an area that we're in, where it's it's rural, it's families. We do just as many family movies as we can, but we do R-rated movies. Like this weekend, we've got the second week of Super Mario Brothers,
Of course.
which did fantastic.
It's a phenomenon.
Yeah,
That's
it
what the
really
drive-in
is.
needed.
And then we'll have the first weekend of Renfield. So
Yes.
so Dracula is in the house this
Very
weekend.
cool.
And I like that kind of a combo where we've got a family audience and a more teenage, young adult kind of audience.
Yeah.
You getting 2 demographics going on the 2 screens there. That's always a good thing.
That's the hardest part for us, is any given night we're kind of leaning into one audience or the other, or trying to appease them throughout the weekend. To have 2
yeah.
just gives you the option to play.
Oh yeah.
Now, how about food? What's your big pull? I mean, I know if I were there, I'd be loading up on those corn dog nuggets.
Well, the big pull right now is the pizzas.
Oh, I imagine.
They're a new item, and so everybody's wanting to try them. But I think our big items are the popcorn,
Yeah.
and the burgers, and the fresh cut fries that we have.
Yes.
Those have been very popular. Root beer floats. Those were big.
Yeah, I could see that being a hit. Man, oh man. It's just so amazing what you've been able to do with the place. It's so clear that the passion runs so deep, and it's in the right hands. I don't want to take up all your time. I want to give the guys some time to ask you some questions as well. Mark, you got anything for Mike?
There was one thing I saw on the website that I was very intrigued by, and it said that people can check out games before showtime. What exactly, how does that work? Because that's one of the things, you encourage people to come out early, because if they come out early, they might, hit the snack bar more than once, get a good spot, enjoy the vibe. But sometimes people want something to do. And so how does that work with checking out games?
Well, they just, give us a driver's license or their keys or their firstborn or something. So they can get a volleyball, go out and use the volleyball net. We've got a volleyball net set up, and then we've got a few sets of cornhole games that we put out in front of the screen, and they can do that. The old theater used to have a very, very beat up, mangled up little mini putt-putt course. But that had to go the way of the rest of the screen. Yeah. And we're not going to be putting that back in. But the big thing for this year that we're going to be adding, and we're really excited about this, is we're going to be building a brand new playground.
Oh my gosh!
Out to the north
classic,
of it,
baby.
It's really going to be nice. We're very excited about it. It's kind of a pet project of my wife and I. My wife's really excited to do it. Yeah. It's really it's just a gift to the community, really. And we think it's something that people will really enjoy, and it will help every aspect of the theater. It'll get people there earlier for the drive-in. It'll get families there for the diner during the day, give the kids something to do. Yep. We think it's just really going to enhance the whole experience of the Tiffin Drive-In to have that playground there. And we've got it designed, and we're hoping that it's going to get installed sometime in the fall, hopefully in September.
So cool.
That's so wonderful, because that was a staple of the drive-in since the beginning. I mean, I remember being dragged unmercifully on a merry-go-round under the screen at my hometown drive-in. I tried that merry-go-round once, but as the years went by, as you got farther into the 80s, more and more places didn't keep them up, and they were the old style playground, so it was all metal and rusty and things that could give you tetanus and a million diseases. But eventually they went away with fear of liability and everything, and it became extremely rare to see any place with a playground. So to hear that you're putting one in that's just great.
So cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to our playground. We have a big grassy area in front of our screen, and that used to be the playground years ago. And if you walk through it, you can still see the cement base where the sliding board stood and all that stuff. And I think it's great. Now, without getting particulars, because it's none of my business, but are your insurance costs, do you think they're going to go up because of this playground, or it must have seemed worthwhile to you, in other words?
Yeah, I mean, it may. I haven't really talked to my individual agent about that, but I worked on the design of the playground with a company that's called Kinetic Recreation. And so everything is kind of like a one-stop shop thing. They've already thought through all of these liability issues about the equipment itself and the installation, and so it's all really up to snuff.
It's a modern playground that you don't have to worry about falling 20 feet from the air.
Less concrete slabs and jagged metal like in our day.
I know. It's amazing. When I was thinking about the design of this thing, I was remembering back to my elementary school and how the monkey bars were right over the asphalt.
Yep. Oh yeah, always. They're like, "Do you want to skin me? Here you go, baby."
Yeah, and nobody ever thought anything about it.
No, it was just the norm. They're like, kids will love it.
Yeah. But yeah, we're really excited about the playground. We really hope we can get that in this fall.
So great.
That's great.
Well, we want to give you an opportunity, since you do such an amazing job with the socials, of letting people know where they can find you.
Well, the Tiffin Drive-In Theater is located 4 miles north of the great metropolis of Tiffin, Ohio, on State Route 53, and you can find us on Facebook. And you can find us on www.tiffindriveintheater.com. And you can order I'll do this with a little film act flair. You can order your tickets now.
My man. Well, before we let you go, I'm curious, for your pre-shows, for your intermission reels, anything like that, do you do kickback programming, like to run the intermission reels?
You mean, do we run some retro stuff?
Yeah, or just the snipes in between or before film as well.
Yeah, we've got a little, I don't know if you call it a trailer, but we've got a a set of intermission, snipes with the popcorn and the animation and all of that stuff. And another example of that was last year when we were doing Top Gun Maverick. When we did our grand reopening over Memorial Day weekend with Top Gun Maverick, we threw in one of the old Max Fleischer Superman animated cartoons.
Those are so good.
Oh, wow.
They're stunning.
I got to tell you guys, it looked fantastic.
See that on the laser?
It just looked amazing. And so we like to do those kind of things to, harken back to the heritage of the drive-in and the whole retro feel of it. And we really enjoy doing that. And a year ago this week, we had our first retro event.
Yes.
We had, and the weather was beautiful that weekend. The third weekend of April, it could be snowing.
Oh, yeah.
But just this coming weekend, it was 80 degrees, and we did back to back to the Future.
Yes. Come on, hitting it out the park.
We did the trilogy, and we had a guy come up from Columbus who had a totally down to the very last detail, authentic replica of the DeLorean time machine.
Beautiful.
And he brought an actor with him who was Doc, and he and Marty stayed in character the entire time. It was great. And
I love
we
that.
tried to do
we
things,
love that.
Oh yeah. And we try to do things like that whenever we can through the season. It's a challenge when you're doing that as sort of a hybrid with the first run, but we really enjoy doing it, and we're committed to doing some retro stuff like that whenever we can. Over the Labor Day weekend, on Sunday night of Labor Day, we did a drive-in retro double feature of The Blob and The Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D.
Perfect.
In 3D.
So how did the 3D work?
Yes.
That's always fascinated me
with
because
the laser.
historically,
I bet you he can do it.
So did the effect work okay?
Yes, it did. I have another secret weapon, and his name is Matt Kruger, and he does all my technical stuff. But even he found it pretty challenging to take this disc that I had of the traditional,
the red blue
3D, the blue green, blue red glasses version of Creature from the Black Lagoon, and convert that over to DCP. He had to do some fancy dancing with that, but he got it to work.
Worked his magic,
and it looked great. It looked great up on the screen. Of course, Creature from the Black Lagoon, that version of 3D. It's, there's only parts of the movie that really look cool with it. Yes. Parts of it are just kind of a jumble. But it was fun. It was a great novelty. And that night, most of the people, though, were there to see The Blob.
The draw. It's the draw. We did it for our remake double
fans.
take. Has a huge pull. And we're close to the Colonial, the original filming location.
Yes, I've got to make it there someday.
Fandom, for sure.
The neat thing is the director's son that directed that film came out to our drive-in, and he still had a little bit of the original Blob that was used in the film itself. And I bought a couple vials of it. I have it hanging up in the projection booth.
For
somebody
good
will
luck.
walk in and tap their head. They're like, "What is this?" Well,
I look at it. It looks like mistletoe hanging, and I'm like, so if you kiss somebody under the mistletoe, if you stand under the blob, do you just like put your arms around them and absorb them into yourself?
Do you ever go in there some days and worry that it might have grown?
that it fell to the ground, smashed, overtakes the lot. Oh.
Well, I got to tell you guys, it's really a pleasure to do this podcast with you. I've listened to all of the episodes.
Oh, that means the world.
Especially during the time when I was doing the build out of the drive-in, and that there were days that were, I got to tell you, they were really challenging. The kind of days where you're wondering, oh my gosh, how did I ever get into this?
What am I thinking?
And I would listen to your podcast and listen to the passion that you guys have about what you're doing, about your theater, about 35 millimeter, about the drive-in, and it would just remind me why I got into it in the first place. It provided a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, even when that light was pretty far away still.
Yeah.
So
that is so.
I kind of feel like with my my little drive-in out in the middle of rural Seneca County and Tiffin, getting to be on the Mahoning Drive-In podcast, I feel a little bit like the garage band having its moment on the Ed Sullivan Show.
We
It's funny.
love that.
It's funny. I can just picture you standing there the day you knocked your original building down, standing there with a pile of rubble and saying, "What have I done?"
Well, you continue to inspire us as well, my friend, and that's the biggest gift that we've had coming into this is our little story inspiring others to go after their dreams and dream big. And the fact that you were able to see it through in such an incredible way, it's inspiring tenfold. So
Yeah, it's
I
great.
appreciate that coming from you guys. That means a lot, and I really appreciate that you reaching out and doing these shows with the other owners, because it's just very exciting to hear from them, and it's inspiring because at this stage of the game, anybody who's in the drive-in movie business, they're in it because they have a passion about it. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's barely a get
No.
rich slow scheme.
Yeah,
And
yeah, barely.
so you have to love it to do it. And that comes through in every episode of your podcast and everything that you guys do out there. And I can't wait to get out there sometime and see you guys again in person.
Oh, same, dude.
Right.
We're gonna make that trip out there. For us, we're not very far apart, so we could really make a trip and make it work. What's your schedule, just so I can kind of plan it? Are you open every day at a certain point, or you do weekends?
We're open. We opened on March 31st this year, and we're open on weekends probably through the second or third week of May.
Yep. After the
depending on what the weather forecast is there in May.
We might have to make a day trip,
And then we're open 5 days a week from Memorial Weekend on through the middle of August. We're open from Friday to Tuesday. And then we take Wednesday and Thursday off for everybody to recharge their batteries and regain their sanity.
Yeah,
very interesting.
We can make one of them Monday shows work for sure. Make a little trip down, load up on some corn dog nuggets.
Very
if it's not clear, that was my favorite part of the menu.
Okay.
Well, thank you, my friend, for coming on, spending the time with us. And anybody out there listening, do yourself a favor, look into the Tiffin. It is truly setting an example for what a drive-in can be in the new age, just along with the Mahoning. So, all right, I think on that note, Jeff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night, and God bless you.